Rusted Root evolved around frontman Michael Glabicki's distinct sound and vision, a one of a kind blend of acoustic folk, rock, and world music that took the Pittsburgh based band from local clubs to multi platinum record sales and a worldwide touring career. As lead singer, songwriter, and guitarist for Rusted Root, Michael fuses musical mastery and shamanic inspiration into his music and live performances. In his most prolific period to date, Glabicki is focusing his energy on his new band, the Uprooted Band, to carry on the legacy of Rusted Root's energetic music while recording new music as well. Send Me on My Way is one of the most iconic songs of the 90s, at least for me. And it's always bothered me that the powers that be didn't play more of your songs in the mainstream. The band had such a refreshing sound, unlike most others at the time. And this was right at the time when I was first doing my college radio show, and I decided not to play commercial music on my show. In a way, you were one of those butterflies that flapped your wings, and through a succession of events, led me to be doing what I'm doing right now. And I've been in radio since 1990. So
Awesome.
I want to thank you for doing what you've done and being who you are. It's kind of influenced me in a way.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for saying that. I appreciate it.
I bet you get a lot of people. It seems like you're the kind of musician that really touches a lot of people. Do you get a lot of feedback from people and touching stories?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's great to hear, and it's sort of, because I'm a pretty introspective guy. So a lot of what I do, I'm getting cues from inside myself. And so when I hear things from other people, how it affects them, it gives me the strength to sort of go deeper inside, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise I could feel pretty vulnerable just keeping sort of like within myself. So it's really good to hear. I've heard a lot of stories from like soldiers that, were over in the Middle East and it got them through, or just people that have had problems and such, and the music helped to get them through. And it's overwhelming to hear those kind of stories. But like I said, it's really great to hear for myself to keep me going.
Was it kind of reaffirming and inspiring for you?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because, it's especially nowadays with the music industry sort of, being so fractioned. Um, you're not you don't get the necessary the warm feedback that you got back in the 90s, like when we were starting, where it was, you knew pretty much what was going on with your people, and you had some core people around you traveling with you, and people were interested in hanging out after shows, and camping, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's still that going on, but there's a lot less of it.
Mm.
And I think there's less of a wholesomeness out there around the music industry right now. Um, so I think, hearing those stories are very good at this point, for sure.
Well, coming up at the Blackbear Americana Music Festival, there's plenty of opportunities to hang out with the fans and do some camping.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, we heard that we didn't do the Black Bear last year, but when we heard that we were going to do it this year, Emily, uh, Emily and Victoria, she grew up near there, and so she was so excited. She called when she found out, and we all just got very excited, because it's one of those festivals that, like I was saying, is very wholesome, is, sort of spans time. You have the younger crowd, the older crowd, and everything in between, and there's great food, and all that good stuff. So it just feels more like community based. It feels more like the community itself has an identity that's very unique, but also like is very thirsty for like really good music,
Hmm.
and is very appreciative of us. So we that's like this is like the perfect festival for us.
I should mention that even though you weren't there last year, you have been there in the past.
Yes, a couple times. Yeah.
Do you have any favorite memories from previous years?
Uh, I would just say all of it. We just love going there. We're just
Mm.
all smiles when we show up.
Um, Wikipedia notes that you have acknowledged the popular success of Peter Gabriel's 1986 album So as an influence on your decision to incorporate world beat into your own music. Is this accurate?
Yeah, but I think it came later. I was in '87. When did So come out?
86.
'86. Okay, yeah. So I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it did. Um, but it was interesting because when I started, I dropped out of school in '87, out of college in my first semester to start writing. Didn't tell my parents. Just I rented this place for like $50 a month and got some gear in there and just started writing music. And at that time, I was just kind of trying to envision what I wanted in the band. You know, what sounds, what kind of landscape. And at that time, my two cousins, one was in a reggae band, and one was in an sort of an Afrobeat band. I wouldn't necessarily call it Afrobeat, but he's a lot of African percussion, and they were very influential. Plus, a lot of the concerts around Pittsburgh University, and Carnegie Mellon University, they would bring in a lot of world beat music. So it was like sort of like all happening at once. It seemed like for me. And then so came out. Maybe I heard it a year later, or maybe 2 years later. But when I heard it, it it sort of gave me the green light to go ahead and say like, okay, this doesn't have any limits on it. This doesn't have to be something that's sort of on the side of the mainstream. This could be mainstream. Not that I was necessarily wanting to be a pop band or anything like that. It just sort of gave me the green light to connect with everybody with it. And but what was interesting is when I did hear it, I didn't like
Oh,
it, which was like, um, I mean, I love it now, but I think because the way that I was kind of like almost like sort of militant about writing music back then, because if I would write a song or a part for a song or lead melody line that I would get excited about, and I'd go like, oh, that reminds me of such and such, and it feels really good to sing that, and then I'd go like, oh, okay, and I would just take that and I would scrap it, um, because I didn't want I knew that I was somewhat limited in my skills, and I knew the only way that I was going to connect or become successful was to create something that at least felt really resonant and unique within me. So that's what I focused on. So I was so focused on that when I heard Peter Gabriel stuff, it almost sounded too theatrical or planned out for me.
hmm.
I was Me and my buddy from high school, he played drums. We had this cassette tape of African drumming, and we would play it, and he would kind of play something on the drum kit that sort of mimicked that energy, and we would just, and I would bring in like an entire PA system into this like small room in his parents' house, and we would just jam out more so rhythmically
Hmm.
on the acoustic guitar and drums. And I just wanted this certain energy that I was focused on, and was going for. And when I heard him, it sounded too planned out for me, or too like, like too many little vignettes of things. I wanted this sort of just power, straight through the song, or big parts of the song. And but obviously it's an amazing record, and I love it now, and I've loved it throughout the years.
Mm.
But that was sort of its influence on me.
You've traveled the world extensively. Have you taken opportunities to learn more about world music as you're in different countries?
Uh, Not really. I really haven't really traveled for that purpose. Um, and I've always sort of been wanted to stay more naive about things. Like if I heard something and I liked it, I would just try to replicate that energy as opposed to really go in and use a certain rhythm or such. But my band at the time, Jim DeSpirito was very, very knowledgeable, and Jim Donovan were very knowledgeable of a lot of different things. And so they brought in the sort of the high life beat that's on Martyr and Ecstasy. And Jim DeSpirito was more he was more apt in the Middle Eastern type stuff. He studied in India
Mm-hmm.
on tabla and etc. So they were very, very schooled, but I wanted to kind of stay away from it because I didn't want to steal anything. I just wanted to kind of like be inspired by the energy of something, and then get on the acoustic guitar and try to like write something that could incorporate that energy.
I've
If that
heard,
makes
yeah, it makes sense. I've heard some bands from from the '90s that are still around playing. They're kind of getting sick and tired of playing their old hits. But you seem to embrace those songs that you had early on, and you're re-envisioning them with your new band, and as well as creating new music as well. And I'm looking forward to dancing to your hits like the Martyr and Ecstasy. Um, but you've got a lot of new songs that are very cool to listen to as well.
Yeah. Um, I think the older stuff still resonates really well, and is I mean you could have played it in the '60s, and I'm sure you could play 100 years from now, and it would be fine, and it would resonate. So it's just really about the moment right now for us, and the band that I have is very sort of more intuitive, more there's sort of like a genuine and unique love in the band for each other and for the music, and for playing together and for responding to one another, and that's pretty exciting. It's a lot about going up and up on stage and sort of just having a good time playing music with each other, and because these musicians are so technically sort of, I would say, more, a lot of them are more advanced. The landscapes that sort of pop up are more shocking for me than they've ever been. So I kind of like stand back at times, and I'm almost like a fan, sort of like laughing like the rest of the audience, like, wow, listen to that, like crazy,
Like Dirk Miller, who was originally in Rusted Root with you as well, right?
Yeah, he came in later
Oh,
and
later.
then toured with us. Yeah. So
Uh,
yeah, he's there now, and he's uh, he's sort of like bringing more of a rock thing into it. It's more of like a rock guitar, um, rock soloing, and sort of that aspect of which goes really well. And sort of I wish we would have had that back in the day, because like you were saying, they played "Send Me on My Way" on the radio back in the '90s, but they wouldn't play "Ecstasy" or "Martyr" or songs like that resonate really well with our audience.
hmm.
But they were so worried about it sounding like Latin music that they didn't want someone turning the dial and hearing a part of "Martyr" or "Ecstasy" without the vocal in there, and go like, oh, this is a Latin station. I'm gonna click to the next one. So that
Yeah.
was literally the only reason why those songs never got to radio. And that was kind of dumb. But I
Wow.
think with a little bit of rock guitar or just a slightly bit of a more rock sensibility put into that, I think it really would have like hit off on radio.
And you've got a couple of songs that are very funky, like Man Not Machine and Save Me.
Yeah,
Were you channeling anybody in particular with those?
not that I know of. I would think maybe, more like James Brown, Parliament,
Hmm.
uh, Led Zeppelin. Um, I think that combination probably was being put into it. I think that just sort of popped up on the guitar, and it was like, wow, this is really cool. So, and we're gonna be releasing that pretty soon. So, you can keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. Well, Michael, would you like to play a quick game before we go?
Sure.
It's called Lyrical Ponderings. I'll give you I'm gonna give you a song title. The song title is in the form of a question. You can
Okay.
either tell me who sang the song or answer the question.
Okay.
Pick a number between 1 and 201.
99.
99. Who's that girl?
Uh,
Come on, this is from our early adult days.
I there's a female singer, right?
Yep.
Is it Madonna?
Yes, it is. Ding ding
Oh,
ding.
okay. All right.
1987.
1987. That's when I started writing music.
A great year. Well, Michael, thank you very much, and definitely looking forward to seeing you at the Blackbear Americana Music Festival in Goshen, Connecticut, starting October 6th through the 8th, and you're going to be performing on that Saturday, October 7th, on the main stage.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll see you there.
All right, thank you, Michael.